So I wanted to come on here real quick and make a lifeline video. A lifeline can save you from frogging all the way back and starting at the very, very beginning of your knit. Lifelines are super helpful, and whenever I'm learning something new, I usually use them to add a lifeline. That way, if anything goes wrong, you don't have to go back to the beginning. So let's learn how to do that. All right, so I am going to add a lifeline to this project. So we need a tapestry needle, and we need waste yarn, and we need our knitted item. All right, so if you're adding a lifeline at where you're at right now, you're knitting, where your yarn is on your stitches, it's super easy because we're just going to go through the needle. This pattern is actually great because let's say we wanted to add a lifeline lower, which you can do. Since this pattern is alternating colors, it makes it really easy to see. Let me just kind of pick that up and see if we can see it better. But let's say I wanted to add a lifeline like I saw somewhere on here, a mistake that I wanted to fix. I could add that lifeline just by going under one bar, over a bar, under a bar, all in the same line. Okay? And then what I could do is take the knitting off my needles and frog down to that point. So I'm just going over, under the whole time. And that would add a lifeline anywhere you need it. You just pull the yarn through, okay? But you should add a lifeline before you start, like your heart. If you're at that point, you can add a lifeline there. That way, if anything goes wrong when you're working the chart, you can frog back, but you don't have to start all the way over. You may also want to add a lifeline like at multiple points in the heart, like when you're done with the one stitch increase on either side, maybe add a lifeline before you do the 2 rows, that kind of thing. You can really place one anywhere you want. So if you're doing it before your heart and you don't want to take your stitches off your needle, because why would you? Then what you want to do is this. Just go through along your cable or your needle and insert that lifeline. And it's so easy. You just go across in that row. It's easier to add one while it's a live stitch than down below, obviously, because you don't have to go over, under, but you just go all the way around and make that lifeline. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so before you cut your waste yarn or anything, what you'd want to do is make sure that you have enough yarn in there and that it's not keeping everything cinched together, because that's never a good thing. That will make your knit look wonky. And then you can just take the tapestry needle off, and if you had the waste yarn attached to a ball like I do, you could just go ahead and cut that so you don't have extra yarn in your way. And it's just going to live in there. So if you need to frog down, it will save you time, and I'll do that real quick. But if you don't, you could just pull that out when you're done knitting. It just lives in there and it doesn't affect anything at all. And you don't have to weave it in because it's not knit in. You just pull it out and it doesn't affect anything. Okay, so I'm going to knit 1 or 2 rows after the lifeline so we can frog down. So I'm like, I have a mistake. Now I need to frog down. It's not so hard at all. So you just take your needles out and then you frog down. And then if you try to keep frogging down, guess what? That waste yarn is holding your place. So you don't have to frog all the way down. Now you can just pick up those stitches and get back to your knitting. So I'll pick up my stitches. This one is really nice because it's holding my stitches exactly how I need to place them on my needles. That doesn't always happen. But that's so beautiful right now. So I'm just going to insert my needle along the way here. And this is easy because it's knitting in the round. If I were knitting flat and using straight needles, that might be a little bit more complicated because you got to put your needle in the right direction. So the only thing I would say about that is you might want to insert your needle backwards so that you're ready to knit. But if you insert it the wrong direction, you can always transfer those stitches over. It's not the end of the world. Everything will be okay. Here we go. And then we're just ready to knit again. So sometimes what can happen, like this one was really easy to put them back on my stitches, but I've done lifelines before where it doesn't go easily, and then when you're done, your stitches may be twisted. So I'm just going to twist a couple here by hand. How you can tell if it's twisted or not, because maybe you don't know that, and that's really a good thing to know, especially if you're using lifelines and you're trying to knit something. So here we go. So sometimes when you put it back on your lifeline, especially if you add a lifeline down in a lower section, you may have put the lifeline through the wrong arm of the stitch, and that's totally fine if you did, because the whole point is to save you from frogging, and it's not a big deal if your stitch gets twisted because you can untwist it before you knit. So I'm going to get really close and we're going to look at this. Okay, so let's pretend that this was twisted. Well, it is twisted now because I twisted it. I can tell that this is twisted because I can see, let me see if you can see this. I can see the leg of my stitch is closer to the needle point behind the needle than it is in front of the needle, and that should not be the case. So then I would just pick it up, turn it over, and knit it. Okay, and then the same thing here. Like, let's pretend I knit that one. See this leg of the stitch right here? Focus, camera. Yeah, so because it's coming out closer to the needle point than the one that's on the front of the work, that is a twisted stitch. So I would twist it over, oops, and then knit it. And then this one is right. So now I don't see that leg right there. I just see this one being closer to the needle point. The other, that means that it is on correctly. So there we go. That is Lifelines. Thank you for watching.